Thank you, Mike. Hello, this is Jose Mangione at STMicroelectronics. I'm here as the UX survey lead, and I will present the work we've done on the survey and overall improvements. So, as you've heard, NFC is all about more convenience, faster, intuitive technology. So that's definitely true in payment and transport industry. And we want to know and we want to improve how we stand there with respect to consumer use cases. We have very high expectations there, and we are seeking for improvement here. Next slide, please. So why do we do all of that? Well, let's look at what we've done in the last 15 years and where we think we are. If you look at the picture here, sometimes we think, well, NFC for use cases on consumer products is a bit described by this picture. Now, trying to find the information somewhere in a vast area. So, is that the case or not? This is what we want to understand. We think we have room for improvement, and we want to understand where end users, real life consumers, how they see our technology. Do they have difficulty with finding the antenna and getting the information? What is how close do they need to bring their device to the item? Is that an issue for them? Do they get the information they want from the tag or not? So this was started in 2019. In 2020, the NFC Forum Board of Directors embraced completely this topic and defined the user experience as one of the main 2020 goals in order to enable NFC technology to deliver a consistently positive user experience across use cases. Next slide, please. So in 2020, we started within NFC Forum a new work item to deliver with the aim of delivering a consistently positive user experience. Not 80% of the time, not 70% of the time, but much more than that. So we have been defining since requirements based on our expert knowledge and also feedback from our own customers. Requirements to achieve a predictable, consistent, performing user experience. And we want to make the tap very easy and successful and consistently performing, no matter which use case we are talking about. So those requirements are spanning over all the vertical markets that we are targeting: retail payment, transport, automotive, IoT. We want to be broad. We want to systematically improve the user experience. Now, we know NFC is widely deployed in payment transport. We know it's very good at that. What we are after is consumer applications here. And we want to understand, not from experts like us, but from non-tech savvy consumers, everyday consumers, how they use this technology and if they find it intuitive and easy, as it is our promise to deliver such a technology. Next slide, please. So in a nutshell, we have come up with requirements to improve the user experience, covering all the system level aspects. One of the key aspects is that the tap is easy and can be made with it can be achieved with a natural gesture. That means not having to rotate the hand, not having to change the direction, to find different positions between the smartphone and the product, the item here. We want the software running on the mobile phone to be intuitive and not requiring too many steps, or at least that it is something that is straightforward for the end user to use. The operating range has to be smooth and good enough for the end user to feel comfortable, maybe not too much in contact, not too far away. The use case has to be very responsive. The response to the act of tapping should come fast and reliable. On top of that, we've addressed some topics here, which I will not go deeper into that because this is a work in progress. Certification, we are going to improve the certification also in order to make sure that the products out there are being tested, are being interoperable. And Mike McKinnon will present in a moment the work that has been done on the NFC brand and mark. So this has been done early this year. What has come up since, in order to improve the user experience, are a couple of things here. We have delivered an application document, which is a guideline to service developers to provide consistent user experience across different mobile platforms or mobile OS when reading NFC tags. So this is an application document that you can download since April 2021. As part of those requirements, also, we have provided inputs to the NFC brand and wayfinding team, which has resulted into what Mike McKinnon will present. And here at stake today, where we will dig into, is a user survey. So we've conducted the user survey because we want to enrich, confirm the requirements that I've just talked about, and also define priorities and maybe add some more requirements which we were not aware of. So now if we dig into the survey itself, next slide, please. So why do we have this survey? So we want to get a greater understanding of the consumer adoption and experiences with NFC on everything else that's other than consumer use cases. For example, that means registering a product. That means getting maintenance on the product or getting product information. This type of use case. This is what we are after in understanding how well this is deployed and what difficulties people have. Second objective is to validate the user experience improvement requirements, specification that we have developed. And examples of what we expect to find out from the survey are the following. We want end users to have a great impression out of NFC Forum. We have very high expectation here. Well, we expect some difficulties and we want to work on that. So we need to understand which ones those are. Plus, we'll have lots of insights on very particular or more points, such as the number of end user interaction to achieve a given use case and knowing if it's a difficulty or not for end users with the number of steps. What are the common conditions, most common conditions for achieving an NFC certification, and much more. Next slide, please. So the survey is an online survey that we have just completed. It has been developed within NFC Forum over a number of months and been translated into 6 different languages. It consists of 23 questions plus some filtering questions because we wanted to make sure that the respondents are users of NFC technology in other use cases than payment and transport. That's our focus. So there's been a total of 1,762 respondents across 7 countries. So we got respondents from China, France, Germany, Japan, South Korea, UK, and USA. So wide variety of countries and culture and different types of users. Out of those 1,762 total respondents. There were 1,400 that claim that they have used NFC for other use cases than payment and transport. So this is data that we got just a couple of weeks back. We are not ready yet to finalize our conclusions here. Here today, I'm just presenting what our team has come up with as first results. And we will keep working on that, on the analysis in the next weeks, months, so that by end of Q3 this year, we come up with recommendations in order to improve the user experience and validate also all the user requirements. So now I will jump to the next slide, please. So the first outcome, which is in fact very positive and very pleasing, is that 79% of the respondents, which are among regular consumers of products and mobile phone users, worldwide claim the use of NFC technology for consumer use cases. So it is a lot, and we are very pleased about that. It's in line with what ABI Research published last year as a study for NFC Forum, where the numbers were even higher. Numbers were, like 96% of people were using NFC for other things than payment, but they didn't include transport. So here we have slightly lower numbers because maybe some people were using only transport. But it's very high number, and that's very positive to see that. Of course, that's what they claim. They might have misunderstood that we are talking about NFC technology and not some other technologies, and that we are not talking about payment and transport. Okay, but from what we have seen, the vast majority of people have not misunderstood that, and they have understood that the use cases we are interested in are consumer use cases. Let's move to the next slide. Please. Okay, thank you. So the main interest we have in this survey was to understand how NFC is seen by the end users in terms of usefulness. So we asked the question, would you recommend this or those usages of NFC, which are non-payment, non-transport, to friends? And those are the answers we got. So 81% see value in NFC. Some of them are very convinced and they will recommend the NFC technology to friends, 46%. Some of the people are convinced they found the NFC technology useful, for 45%. But they might need to be more convinced by us and by our whole ecosystem that there is real usefulness and that their friends also can benefit from NFC. So we have 81% of users that are satisfied in general. It's a good starting point, but we still have 19% of users that are either not recommending NFC to anybody because they didn't find the result very useful, or that they had too many issues and at the end they gave up. So 19% is, according to our expectations, very high expectations, too high. We want to decrease that. And we will focus on those people and their issues in order to get those people more satisfied and hopefully get some of the 45% of respondents getting from yes, I might recommend to yes, I will definitely recommend. So for that, we have to dig into the responses, understand the reasons, and fix the issues. So let's move to the next slide. So the next slide explains and shows all the key user experience issues that have been reported to us. We have highlighted here 10 issues. There are more, but the rest is less significant. Here we have the highest reported issues in decreasing order. So the first one is that end users are saying that, well, it is for 55% of them too long to hold their smartphone or their device, so tablet, smartwatch, in front of the product, the item. It's a very high number, but it is split into two categories here. Before I go into the two categories here, let me explain what is the question we ask, in fact. So we ask, was the time you held your personal device close to the item acceptable? So that includes the time the person looks for the right sweet point between their device and the product. So maybe looking around and struggling a bit with that, getting the information and completing the action they had in mind. So this is too long. And as I said, it can be split into two pieces, two parts of people. For about 38% of people, it's simply taking too long, but with the progress indicator, well, maybe it's acceptable. This is something we really have to understand. But still, for more than 15% of people, it's simply too long, and no matter if there is a progress indicator or not, it's too long. It takes too much time. As I said, it can be a variety of reasons here, because it could be just struggling ahead, getting the communication established. So we have to further analyze that. Second issue, reported by 49% of people, is that they have no reliable way to locate the tap point on their smartphone or device. Even though those people have had their smartphone for some period of time, they are either struggling with finding the location of basically the antenna on their smartphone on a regular basis. So this is something that we need to fix as well. Third issue for 44% of people is that the tapping distance is not acceptable. That's the distance between their smartphone and the item they are tapping. So there again, we have two different issues. We have people considering it's too close for 3/4 of the people complaining about the distance. They say it's too close. So here they are struggling with the closeness. But for 12% of people, they say it's too far. So this is a different issue. Maybe they are concerned about security here. So this is something also to address. Issue number 4 is that is reported by 34% of people, and they say that they have no information about what they are after. Okay, they are asked to tap, but for doing what, they don't know. They don't know what they gain from that. They don't know the end results. Okay, so either they don't know at all, or it's not clear enough what is the purpose of the tapping here. Fifth issue is that for 29% of people, the first attempt failed. So they try to get information from a product with a smartphone. It didn't work for 1/4 of the people the first time. So it's not. We didn't ask if they tried a second time, but okay, that's still an issue that it should work for the first time. Number 6 is for 23% of the people complain that the steps being required during the tapping are too many or not bringing enough value. So they are asked maybe to read some instructions, to follow training, to register, to open an account and register. There could be different steps involved, and 23% of the people say, well, it's a bit too cumbersome. For 22% of the people on issue number 7, the tapping gesture is not natural. They're struggling with finding the right sweet point between the smartphone and the product itself. Then we have for item 8, 21% of people saying that the tap point is not indicated on the item. So they have known some other ways that the item was NFC enabled, but they could not figure out where to tap on the item. Then we have 13% of people on issue number 9 that say that the item does not indicate it is NFC enabled. And then on issue number 10 that they tried to get information, to register, do something, but the action did not complete. Well, so we have a number of issues here. We have a number of satisfied people, but still, quite a number of issues which we want to solve somehow, so that end users at the end have a great experience. So we want to resolve this gap between our high expectation and what we see as key issues reported by the users. So we'll first, as NFC Forum, sort out and prioritize all those issues here. We need to really understand what they mean. Then we need to prioritize them and see what we can achieve within NFC Forum. But we can see already that a number of those items here are outside of the scope of NFC Forum, strictly speaking. They are not technical specifications. They are not related to certification programs. They are within the scope of our NFC ecosystem. So we have to, and we need to collaborate with our ecosystem and partners in order to improve on those points here. Right, let's move to the next slide, please. So now I'll zoom in on two particular points to show that, well, those issues have different aspects. If we zoom in into the gesture, and this is because 22% of end users have difficulties with the tapping gesture. We can see that at the end, it boils down into 4 different topics. The main issue here when people are complaining about the gesture not being natural is that they have to try different positions of their device onto the item for 39% of people. Then what comes next is that they are struggling for finding the tap point on the item for 26% of people. 21% of the respondents say, well, they have to change the way they hold their smartphones. Well, they still do, but we can improve that. Then 14% of people say that they have to touch the item with their smartphone, and this is troublesome for them. So let's move to the next slide, please. All right, thank you. So here we zoom into the tap point. So as I said, we have people having difficulties finding the tap point, and we wanted to know if the tap point was indicated somehow and how. What we see is that for 45% of the respondents, there is a symbol on the item that indicates there is a tap point. So that's a good starting point here. But we see also, and well, that can help, or maybe that might confuse. This is something we have to discuss. The tap point is indicated also in multiple other ways. It could be on information displayed on a shelf, on hanging tags on the item, on signs in the store, on leaflets, or sometimes it's not indicated at all. So guidance is given in multiple ways, and out of that, that means that 26% of respondents have difficulties in finding the type point. So we were aware that the type point was and is important. And we strongly believe and we confirm that the wayfinding mark that Mike is going to present in a moment will really help us solving this issue in finding the item type point. Of course, it has to be fully deployed so that it helps our end users here. Let me reach now to the conclusion. On the next slide, please. Okay, so based on this user survey, we can say that NFC is widespread in end users' life, and it's very pleasant to see that 79% of people say that they have not only used NFC for transport and payment, but also for consumer use cases. So it's a good, very good number here. But we want, and we are working at our NFC promise to be intuitive and easy tap. It's not achieved yet based on issues that were raised, but this is good room for improvement. Those issues reported by the end users, they of course are related to the NFC technology, and there are things within NFC Forum we can do, but it's also related to the way this technology is used by the NFC Forum ecosystem. I mean, mobile phone providers, service developers, and so on. So device manufacturers as well. Enhancing the user experience will really require collaboration from the whole ecosystem and NFC Forum. So this concludes my presentation. I don't know if there was time for questions or not. Maybe not.
Maybe well, actually, I put us a little bit behind, so I'm sorry about that.
Okay.
Jose,
thank you.
Well, thank you for your time, and actually, and I know the task force is working on this problem. And I mean, the good news is that we did, I was looking through the data the other day that our goal is to have like what's it like 95% or some really high number. So in terms of a good user experience, so we're sharpening, we're basically making things better here. I want to make sure that people understand. Obviously, NFC Forum, the technology does work. We're just trying to make sure that it works in every single case as quickly as possible. So thanks again to the team, and we'll go on to the next slide.